You there?
Hi,
Hi. Dingus AI.
in your face.
My dream will never die.
It's been dead since it's already been pre-programmed.
Shut up. Shut up. I'm still
That's
gonna
what she
program it.
said.
I'm gonna program it just for fun.
You go do that, just don't release it.
That's what she said.
In your face.
No, your face.
Hmm.
All right, you ready to go?
Yeah, sure.
All right, give me one moment. Dingus AI. All right, let's just give me one
It's nasty
second.
inside.
Hold on. Wrong. No. Crap baskets. Give me one second. Give me one second. Here it is, corporate gaslighting. All right. Uh, Hold on. Almost there. Did I pass it? Where's the intro? Come on. All right, here we go. All right, everybody. Welcome back. And what's going on, world? We are at the renamed Cringe, which is now Corporate Gaslighting 101. I'm Benjamin, and this is Justin. If you want a light
Hey
look,
y'all.
go ahead.
Hey y'all.
Yep, we're back. And if you want a light monthly look at how fucked up corporate America is, you have come to the right place. Because not only do we bring the funny, but we bring you the cringy moments. We bring you the cringy humor from LinkedIn, which, at this point, I have a lot that I can say on that particular topic. And we talk about all your favorite work topics. So let's get going. All right. Out of all the things that I find cringiest about LinkedIn moments, honestly, it's LinkedIn influencers and career coaching. Here's a question for you. How out of touch would you say almost all their advice is?
I would say a good 95% of it.
That leaves 5% of it that's actually actionable, or 5% of the entire LinkedIn population. And the pathetic part is most of them are really just doing a little something called content marketing. And the best is when you literally ask them what's your data, they go into defense mode.
Yeah, essentially the error term arguments. They just go where because they have no data. And at the end of the day, let's be honest. A lot of these LinkedIn influencers and career coaches, they're just grasping for straws as
I
the
mean,
market turns against the entire
grasping for
business.
straws. I mean, on my podcast, I've had a certain number of career coaches, but what I've actually done is I've done careful screening and I've looked for certain types of career coaches. My problem with most of their advice, my problem with most of their advice happens to come down to the fact that it's not that it's unactionable.
Inactionable, yeah,
For
exactly.
example, I can use my situation. I can use my situation to a T and basically just say, so what do you say to somebody hasn't, who literally can't even get interviews? You're going to gaslight me and literally tell me it's my resume?
It's never been your damn resume. It hasn't been for years.
we've we I fixed the resume as of recent. I can name a bunch of things that it comes down to. It's not so much the resume. What they don't want to tell you out loud is it's the it's the timing of the markets. You try to bring that up to them, and like you said, what do?
They can't handle it.
Thanks for the insights.
Exactly. Because guess what? The markets are uncontrollable. They're exogenous. So therefore, all corporate America has to do is attune to the market. And if the market says contract and lay off workers and do all these other bad things to candidates and employees, they're just gonna do it because economics says do it.
I
And guess
mean,
what the influencers and career coaches say? Oh well, this junior resume, da 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 blah blah blah. But in reality,
no,
as
it's
time
not the
has
resume.
gone,
And this is
right,
what you're
I'm trying to say is as time went on, more and more people are discovering that it's not their resume, it's not their connections, it's not their skills, it's really not anything. It's just something that they simply cannot control, which is the market.
so besides the fact that the show is called corporate gaslighting, basically we're
Yes.
going to define this in the most simplest of terms. The hook. You're not getting interviews, question mark. Your resume must be weak. You're burnt out. You need better time management. You're underpaid. Advocate for yourself more. Sure. Let me go advocate for myself and then I'll just end up at the unemployment office. And y'all know how long the unemployment office takes, and this is from personal experience. In 2020, when we all went through the COVID-19 pandemic, it took the federal government 2 months before anyone actually started seeing anything.
Correct.
And
There's
the,
always
and
going to be a
COVID
lag.
happened in March. Everybody shut down for 2 weeks. We go to April, nothing. May, they finally approve something.
Yep.
So basically, what me and last year for me went as follows. I was I was terminated from where I worked, and then it took 2 to 3 weeks of going to literally unemployment office once or twice a week to check on this shit just to get finally approved and find out it had to go through the back office. So if you're going to tell me I need to advocate for myself more, advocacy only comes in handy basically at the unemployment office and not even. So,
Advocate for yourself only makes sense in that case, but also when you're essentially borderline on getting the offer. That's it. Everything before
but then
that,
there's my
forget
favorite
it.
form of
Forget it.
gaslighting. You, all you have to know is you don't negotiate what you want, you negotiate what you get. We don't have a choice in
We
negotiation
do
in the
not have a
first place,
choice.
influencers. First and foremost, if you're only trying to sell people on a system. Negotiation doesn't work that way. If
It
you
never
have the
has.
skills and you fit the job description, depending on how long you've performed the role for, I mean, the only other argument I would say at this point is the
Mm,
only one to my mind that could probably negotiate would be you.
mm.
You.
No, even I can't really negotiate.
You're a web developer. You have some negotiation.
I have zero, and I can prove it.
Okay,
It's
prove
very
it.
prove it. Okay, who defines how much I get paid?
Corporate America.
Exactly. That's all the proof you need. Now,
But
now
my
the
whole
thing
thing,
is, now I
can you
will say this.
negotiate if, for example, you were going on a 1099?
No, not really.
How about a private client?
Fine. No, not really. Because it's up to the client to whether or not they
So, in
think
other
you
words,
are.
what you're basically confirming to me is the advocacy argument is complete bullshit.
It's absolute bullshit. Because even if you are a business, even if you go through it all as a business, you can set any price you want, correct? But at the end of the day, someone has to pay that price. And it's based on your, and it's not based on you, the seller. It's based on the budget constraint of the consumer. So ultimately, whether it's corporate America, freelance client, or your own company, I mean, it's all subject to that budget constraint, whatever that budget constraint may be. Now, I will say this. If the budget constraint is say $100 an hour and you generally charge 50 or 50, okay, then there's about a $50 difference. You can probably ask for 80 and they'll give it to you because
Right.
you're
Just,
still
I'll give you a situation.
saving money.
The company who terminated me last year, when I was working in their New York City location, and I had first applied for the role I got terminated from last year, and this was
Mhm.
back in 2022. It wasn't even really a negotiation.
No,
I
not at all.
asked for about $2 more based off what they were offering for training because I was already in the company. So therefore, that kind of worked in that situation. Where I didn't
Right.
have the actual say was when I was coming off the temp to perm contract, they gave me 18 at that time. I thought that was an improvement. As it actually turns out, a coworker who ended up at the CDC basically had a master's degree, and the highest she could get was 23 an hour. So guess who went home and felt stupid that day? I think we were talking on the train ride home too at that time, if I
Mhm.
recall correctly.
Sure. Yeah. That's
And you
funny,
knew how
isn't it?
pissed I was about that.
Oh, I
Nothing
bet you
against
were.
her, but I'm like, what the fuck?
Exactly.
The amount of money it
That's
costs to commute into New York City, I'm on 18, she's on 23, but she has a master's degree in public health. Fuck my
correct.
life.
Yep. So again, I mean, your pay is tied to whatever budget
Whatever the band
constraint.
is,
Yeah,
whatever they deem the band is.
whatever the band is, and whether or not it's funded. That's
So
it.
it's funny because here's something most of those influencers, you and I have seen this, don't get. Advocate for yourself while having to fill out 500 job applications.
There's no advocacy here. It's just
Then
a waste
you
of
have to
time.
deal with recruiter and hiring manager ghosting.
Again, more time wasting activity.
So basically, let's look at LinkedIn in this sense. If you want the capital of corporate gaslighting, that's probably your site for that.
Absolutely.
It's such a wonderful exercise for people like me in what I like to basically call public discourse or lack thereof.
Yeah.
Why LinkedIn influencers feel out of touch. So here's the breakdown. First one, survivorship bias. Most
Yep.
influencers got hired during easier markets. Fun fact, they
Correct.
will not tell you that. One of my
Of course
podcast
not.
guests who worked at a very large tech company, I will not name, but it's one of the main companies,
Okay.
love her to death, but what I will say is this. What when that person's doing their posting, and don't get me wrong, it doesn't irk me. She's talking about the early 2010s, which you and her probably both experienced in two different ways. Now, don't get me wrong, that's
Yeah.
cool. Unfortunately,
2010s is
a certain
a
somebody was
different
doing
time.
his degree back then.
Yeah. I mean, that's a different time.
I
Different
mean, you
market,
had a lot
different
of tech
time.
companies starting up in the early 2010s. This was right after the global financial meltdown and,
Yep.
start of the Great Recession.
Yep.
So tech companies were starting, they were more willing to be patient and hire people. She had just moved kind of to the region and was lucky that a couple people recognized her technical acumen and abilities. Okay, good. So
Wonderful.
absolute, respect to you.
Mm-hmm. Of
Unfortunately, for people like myself who graduated in 2019, I didn't get that benefit.
course not. You will never get that benefit.
So
You
right
know,
now,
it's
somebody
like
like me isn't discounting the advice, but somebody like me is looking at it like,
it's not applicable.
yeah, it not applicable even doesn't scratch the surface of it.
It's like it's just outdated. Like it's like more barriers have risen up since then. So it's
Well, yeah,
like,
because
what can you do?
even the high school district that I came from, most people could help their friend or family member get in.
Yeah, not
Unfortunately, I didn't
anymore.
have
Mm-mm.
access to that. This is a whole nother thing. Benefit from connections, or they were lucky in good hiring cycles. That's something
Yep,
they'll never tell you on LinkedIn.
they
They'll
will
make it
never
seem
tell you
like,
that.
they'll make it seem like the hiring manager loved their ability and was flexible to work while leaving out the fact that the cycle was just much easier and forgiving. And people were like, sure, you can grow at the company.
Absolutely. Here's a fun fact about me. So I actually applied for a firm and I got to interview, did all the whole 9 yards. I was a boot camp graduate, presented my project, asked me some cool questions, and everything was going well. Then I was ghosted for 6 months. So in May, I was ghosted. Flip back 6 months later, or some months later, or whenever it was. And after fast forwarding, I get a job being this W-2 consulting guy. And this company decided to email me after I got the job, asking me to re-interview me.
I
6 months
I
later.
got ghosted on Skype, and
Oh well,
that was
that's
in
typical.
2017.
Oh, that's typical. But think about it for a minute. You went through the factory tour and they just ghost you for 6, 7 months. And then they come back and say, we need you to re-interview. And this is in 2019, folks.
Ah,
I mean, I mean, I don't
no,
know
you
what to
cannot make that
say.
shit up.
You can't make that shit up. Of course, did they answer my email?
Nope.
No. After I asked, I lodged an email saying, how much do you pay? They didn't respond to me. After I told them I took another job.
Oh, sounds about right. Now,
Yep.
that's one. Second, advice is being sold and marketed on LinkedIn, which is genuinely out of touch with what today's job seekers go through. I could give my favorite two knuckleheads who now live in my market, a
Mm.
certain career coaching firm, a huge roast, and I will, because their content literally assumes everybody just wants a high-paying job. Mostly, yes, understood from when you're, coming out of
Sure.
college, which is their standard typical demographic. But let's be really honest. No kid coming out of college with a computer science degree is going to fucking get six figures. Like, grow up.
Not anymore. Not anymore. I
Well, not
mean,
right. That's what I'm referring to right now because
right now, not right now,
the
no.
advice those two particular knuckleheads give was when they got into companies like Google.
Exactly. And because guess what now? The perks are gone. The hiring's 10 rounds. You know,
Then they
I
want
mean,
Figma. Then they want HTML. Then they want
they
CSS.
want, well, that's typical, but they want the latest Panda implementation of some algorithm that you will never see in your life.
Oh, but they'd reject my type of a resume who's actually doing real work, collaborating with people,
Yes,
getting out there
exactly.
networking because, according to our specific friend, I didn't get the PMP. Well, guess what? It's not that I don't want the credential, it's that the credential would, in some sense, whether you here's the difference between me and her. She worked for big companies where the credentials were needed. I respect that. But I would
Yeah.
raise as a counterpoint to people on LinkedIn who may end up discovering this if I post it, but we never show our faces. Here's the deal. I'm the type of person who is a builder, okay? I'd
Yeah,
rather say, fuck the credentials for now because credentials look good on paper, but
not
building with
successful.
people is more beneficial and leads somewhere.
And this is the funny part about it. Corporate America is adverse to builders.
Okay, and I have validation from three people in across three different sectors who are founders who have said to me, you literally not only have good reach, you know what you're doing and you could handle yourself.
Exactly. But
And
corporate
basically,
America
corporate
doesn't
HR
care.
will just find a way to reject that,
Of
especially
course they
given,
will.
of, especially in real estate, which is really amusing because you're talking directly to the person who probably founded the place, unless it's a corporate real estate office.
Yep, that's usually the case. It's funny. It really is funny. But that's the deal. I mean, when it comes to corporate America, you gotta have that special paper. Now, if you don't care about
But
corporate
then if you have
America,
the paper, they still pass you over.
right, it's do if you don't, do if you do if you don't. Either way, you're fucked.
And
But
then
going, but then the builders,
the
the
worst part
worst
about the
part.
advice given out on the platform is it's one size fits all. You
Oh
can't
no,
do
absolutely
that.
not. No, you cannot do that. Mm-mm,
I mean, here's a roast. Okay, a tech applicant in 2026 does not
no,
equal a healthcare admin, does not
it
equal
does
a
not.
teacher, a trade
No, it
worker,
does
but the
not.
advice question mark copy paste.
Pretty much, yeah. Because at this point, you know, they assume that you're just desperate.
Well, that's the problem with LinkedIn because what we're going to touch on is a huge problem. Becomes a huge problem within the
Desperation.
industry itself. And the huge problem I'm going to refer to isn't literally just pricing, it's what they believe somebody will pay. Okay, the career coaching industry has this problem. The elephant in the room, which I know most people would hate me if I ever blew this up as a post on LinkedIn, and I am that much of an asshole that I probably would if I felt like it, but I don't. Let's look at what some of these people are charging. If you wanted to run this type of a business, not that I blame you because, the numbers can, help you kind of support yourself, but it's really a side thing. It's really something you build on the side if you're going to be a career coach. And then my whole thing is the one friend who I'm referring to actually did the smart thing, which was she justified her prices by getting credentialed in it, which is, to be a career coach so she
Yep,
could have a side business. That
yep,
one's understandable, but I would still
yep.
question you on the value of your prices just so I can understand exactly what it is. I'm not disagreeing with them. I'm
Yeah,
just saying they're subjected to, do you leave your prices as is when the markets are down because you probably know you're not going to make the money? So, example, a standard resume rewrite, some of these people on LinkedIn are charging 150 to $500. If you're going to charge that much, you might as well be putting it under 100 or something like this. LinkedIn
I,
optimization, $200. Monthly coaching, 100 to 3,000. Or they get lazy and just package everything and then make it a four-digit number. Then here's my other thing.
you gotta be desperate to pay that shit.
Or Gen Z, because they just don't do any
They're
verification.
desperate.
Huh?
They're desperate too.
But if they understood how if they took time to actually understand the hiring process better, you would realize here's a very, very, very difficult truth.
Mm,
A better resume doesn't fix a broken job market. Sorry,
it
LinkedIn
does not.
influencers. If you're all going to
It
come
does
after me with the
not.
pitchforks, I'm ready for you, WWE style.
It's very true.
A better resume, say that again, does not fix a broken job market. If you're telling me it's my resume and my argument to you is I've done the work of fixing my resume,
It
I've
will
taken a
never be.
recruiter who's now a career coach slash life coach,
Mm,
I took his system. It was an investment. It was worth it. But if I really look at not the necessarily the ROI on it, but if I look at the fact that my circumstances haven't changed, maybe your system is really meant for people who are trying to be recruiters like you, not everybody else.
right.
This
Let's
is the
think about
problem.
it.
The systems that I'm referring to on LinkedIn, before anyone gets friggin' pissed off at me, these are recruiters and HR people selling to recruiters and HR people.
That's right.
It's not for a web developer. It's
Nope.
not for a data analyst. It's not for
Yep.
sometimes every now and then you'll get the programmer project manager selling to programmer project managers. But then they'll make the argument on credentials, but credentials don't outweigh experience. And my example for this would be
I,
my example for this would
hmm.
be there is somebody who's a real estate developer who literally didn't even go to college, started his own company. He's about 60 years old now. Uh,
Well, I must stop you there right there. When did he start his company? At what
1980s.
age? Okay. So this is the deal. Back in the 80s and probably even in the 90s, you can start your company without a college degree and be successful because back in the 70s and 80s, almost nobody really went to college. So it's
Yeah,
not which is fine. But today you can't really say that anymore because if
you
you
could start a whole business with AI. I'm going to get to this
you can.
eventually throughout
But
this process
I
as
guess what I'm trying to say is that what I'm trying to say is that it's very difficult to make it without a college degree nowadays versus back then because everyone has a college degree today. But also, if you don't have a college degree, you're further and further behind. And you have to be more and more exceptional to overcome that.
there are people in recruitment who don't have
Oh,
college degrees. They
right.
started out as
And
HR assistants.
right.
It's
That's
possible, but
true.
it's
It's
rare.
possible, but you either have to be exceptional or you have to get lucky or
Or you have to be really
something
good at sales.
or again, someone has to acknowledge you while you're being good at it. It's totally possible today, but back in the 80s, all you needed was, hey, do you think you can sell my product? Sure, okay, you're hired. Okay, great. 10 years later, you know what? I think I'll start my own company now. After you get the experience. Well, today you can't even get a year's worth of experience without being subjected to be
I got to gaslight this
terminated.
myself. So, and you'll
Yeah,
agree with me. You and I are both in our 40s. I had a
correct.
professor in 2017 who said the following, and she came from construction law, private practice attorney.
Ooh,
She
ooh.
basically said, in to me in my business program, which was business communications, it, your life kind of at least went on this sort of a timeline. Your 20s when you got out of college were made for going out into the workforce and making money. In your 30s,
Correct.
you were looking to meet that special someone, start a
Yep.
family, settle down, buy your first house, and and get ready to raise kids. By your
Yep.
40s, depending where you were in your corporate career, you would begin to either move up the chain, pursue freelance,
Mm-hmm.
or consider entrepreneurial endeavors
Yep.
by the 40, somewhere in the 40s, but
In
that
the
probably comes
40s.
more predominant in your 50s unless you became a
Yeah.
corporate executive.
Precisely. That was the traditional timeline. Yeah.
Unfortunately for millennials, there is no traditional timeline because
No,
most of us
there's none.
ended up falling into business not by choice, but by circumstances.
Yeah, because
Take, for
guess
example, people like me. I've literally worked retail, customer service, basic service for 22 to 23 years.
yeah, well, that's
Now, at
something.
this point, unfortunately, because they want too many credentials, what's the only thing that I could control? Starting
Starting
something.
your own business. Exactly. Because here's the thing about on my side.
You and I were talking about
Prior
that
to
back in
college,
2021,
yeah,
2022.
yep, that's about right. But here's
I
the
was discussing this with our other co-founders, Aaron and Elizabeth, and
yes,
then
yes.
I finally just said, you know what? Fuck it.
Why not? But here's the thing that's funny. My my first job was at a fast food restaurant. I started off when I was a minor, making 5.15 an hour. By the time I was ready to go to college, I was making 7 an hour. I worked my way up, went to college, okay, and stopped going there in the summer too. By the time I got out of college, it was 2008. I graduated. I ended up making that same 7 and 7, maybe 7 and 15 an hour.
Oh yeah, because honestly, by
So what
when I
the
moved
hell
back
could
from
I have
DC in
done?
2014, I was making seven like you. I finally got to $8. And then when I moved back
Decimated.
after 2013, I started off at 8. My wages went up $1 each year. Then in
Oh,
2021, I was making I was making 19. I started back at 15, hit 18, then 20, then
yep,
22, then 24. Now I'm back to 19 part-time.
yep. And here's the funny part. After during 2008, I just 2008, I realized, wait a minute, I'm not gonna ever get be able to start an actual job. And so I went back and got my master's. But in the meantime,
I'm at
I
that point.
started my own
I'm at that point
business.
too, just
I
like
started
you.
my own business,
My mom basically,
and and that's how I ended up where I am. Because even 5 years after doing that little business, because guess what? The Great Recovery, and also no one would give me a decent job. So I graduated. I did other things, and then it wasn't until 2013 when I started to actually get money. So from there is $10 an hour part time.
there's a
You
reason you
know,
and I are working
there's
together now, and there's a
it's
reason I'm
crazy.
starting collaborations with basically four different people, and I'm going to show you
Hmm.
something interesting. Now, uh, last thing, and then we're going to close with a couple things. See this? This is my resume for LinkedIn. If people discover this on
Actually,
LinkedIn,
look at this. This looks like something I've written before.
simple, straightforward.
really very straightforward. Like, come
I
on.
even included a section now for freelance projects and skills.
Look at you. Look at you. Oh,
See all
looks.
this?
Oh,
But
you
yeah,
got the badge. Look at you, big boy.
but
Hmm.
this is my point with all this. Look at how complete this resume looks, and it's still going
That
to get
looks.
overlooked because
Yep.
wah.
ATS.
That's the
I.
problem. That's the little elephant in the room that all these wonderful, stupid
That
influencers
looks
think
so
they can
great.
think that their prices are magically going to fix.
No, it's not.
Oh yeah, pay for my
That's
service and I'll help
crazy.
you beat the ATS monster.
You can't beat the ATS. It's a black box. And by the way, let's think about the ATS for example. How many ATS companies are out there with the majority of the market share of that market? Two or
Greenlee,
three?
Workday.
Just
Gr-
like two or three. Just like two or three of them, right? Now let's think about this for a minute. It's all based on a database somewhere. Now, technically, they shouldn't be sharing data around, but since everyone's within the same two or three ecosystems, wouldn't it make sense there's some sort of cross signaling going
By
on?
the way, speaking of credentials, I have to insert something into this
So crazy.
conversation. How about the micro sucks AI degree?
I I haven't even taken a look at that, and I don't know. This reminds me of the nano degrees from
The nano
Udacity.
degrees on Udacity, right?
Udacity. Yeah. Um, I,
I was thinking about one of those
I looked
myself.
at
I was
that.
thinking about one of those at one point myself, but then
I looked into it, and they sound like a good alternative, and they probably are a good alternative. And I actually they look fantastic in my eyes. But the issue is just simply like, what can you do with it beyond what can you actually do with it? Because you simply can't. Beyond the skills you gain, what does it do for you?
at this point, probably a whole lot of nothing.
That's my point. You're paying this money and you're not getting
It feels
credit.
like companies,
You're not
I'm
getting
not knocking
anything.
traditional education or I'm not knocking corporate on this one, but it almost feels like these
A
corporate
monopoly?
companies decided let's try to monopolize and steal away from colleges by giving a credential. Except the
Yep.
problem with this idea is you're still going to look like you said, oh, but we'll only look if it's from if it's from an accredited institution. So now we're going
Right.
all the way back to one of my favorite 2000s movies with Justin Long, which was about college and all this
It
accreditation argument BS when he tried to start his own college.
really is. Like I said.
I knew that movie was satiring something. I just didn't realize that it would basically be done in reverse today.
Yep. Yep.
So we're gonna start getting ready to close out this session. All right. So speaking of LinkedIn, how many of you out there would be willing to try a service where instead of paying all this nonsense money to career coaches, because they're probably not going to be thrilled with this, but the service that me and my mentor from Canada are selling are offering on LinkedIn is what we call an accountability partner. Basically, it's a white glove service. This can definitely be something people looking for a job can benefit from. Instead, career coaches supposedly offer this, but the focus of their prices are on the resume. If you instead paid a monthly fee of 199 on a 4 week cycle, you could sit down with me and my mentor, and if you're a job seeker, since he and I have been through this just like we could sit down and actually see in your job seeking, did you send that follow-up email last week? Did you actually go off and, make real connections, with people? And I'm not talking about DM the recruiter or the hiring manager. Sorry, but those are two of the worst ideas that I have ever seen given as advice on LinkedIn. Every time I see that advice, I basically knock my head against the wall. I'm like, no, those are the last people that you should be bothering when doing this. So that's one way the service works. You could be doing an executive job search. You could be doing a mid-level job search, an entry-level job search. You could be someone from any industry who might have a series of goals. But if you check out me and my mentor, twice a week on our webinars, we'll also show you our partner accountability service and also how to build a 30-minute business with artificial intelligence. So, if you're on LinkedIn and probably seeing this, send me a direct message. You there?
Roger.
And what are you selling, by the way, Justin, if anyone is interested?
Right now, I have a whole lot of nothing right now,
We'll
but
get you
it's
selling
coming
something
soon.
on this eventually. It'll just have to be when you develop it fully.
Exactly, because you know me, I like quality and I don't sell shit. So,
Same here, but that is one of my first services that I will be, selling to people. And if you want to discover, I will be putting the link to the website in the bio. So, thanks for tuning in this week to Corporate Gaslighting 101, folks. We'll see you next month.
see y'all later.